There are moments in history where a single decision, a single leader, changes the fate of a civilization. Rome, once thought invincible, found itself staring down catastrophe not from rival empires, but from the endless tide of barbarian invaders crashing against its gates. Rome was meant to rule the world, they said, but as the dust of defeat settled on the fields of Norea and Arasio, Rome trembled. For the first time in living memory, her legions broke, her people fled, and the walls of the eternal city felt paper-thin against the storm. It was then, in an hour of darkness, that Rome called upon a man most did not expect, Gaius Marius, the barbarian storm. The late 2nd century BCE. The Republic is fractured, old families bicker for power, and every border seems to bleed. But nothing haunts Roman nightmares quite like the threat slowly moving south. The Cimbri, the Teutones, and the Ambrones migrant tribes from beyond the Alps, tall and fierce, drawn by hunger and hope, press inexorably toward Italy. No Roman army had yet stopped them. At Arasio, 2 Roman consuls let rivalry fester and command splinter. The result was disaster. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers fell, one of the worst defeats in the Republic's bloody history. Now, the northern frontier seemed wide open, and senators in Rome debated not victory, but survival. Enter Marius. Marius did not come from ancient nobility. He was a man of the people, a new man, as much outsider as citizen. But he was a soldier's soldier, steeled by victory in Africa and beloved for practical genius on campaign. When hope was scarce, the people broke tradition and elected him consul. They handed Rome's battered armies to Marius and begged for a miracle. But what did a miracle look like? For Marius, it meant more than bravery. It meant change. He saw that the old ways armies, composed of men of property and privilege, could not stand against the rush of barbarian warriors. And so he opened Rome's legions to any man willing to fight, rich or poor. He drilled them relentlessly. He hammered discipline and loyalty into the backbone of Rome's military. His soldiers weren't just fighters, they became professionals, brothers in arms hardened by training, ready for anything. The waiting game at Aquae Sextiae, the stage for one of history's great showdowns, was set in southern Gaul, near a small settlement called Aquae Sextiae. Marius, facing tens of thousands of Teutones and Ambrones, refused to be lured into the open by taunts or reckless charges. Instead, he fortified his camp on a hill, daring the barbarians to attack. For 3 days, the tribes hurled themselves at Roman defences, lashes of iron, rivers of arrows. Marius waited, letting the enemy exhaust their fury. He understood that patience could kill just as surely as any sword. When the time came, he unleashed a carefully planned, trapper-feigned retreat, an ambush from the woods, chaos in the night. The result was carnage. The Roman line held projectiles flying down on the barbarians, who could find no footing on the rocky slopes or through the tight Roman shield wall. When the fighting finally ended, tens of thousands of Teutones and Ambrones lay dead or captured. Their king Teutobard was paraded in chains. Rome's first great threat was gone, but the war was not over. Onward to Vercellae now, the Cimbri entered Italy itself, their numbers swollen with new hope. They crossed the Alps and swept into the Po Valia tide Rome could not afford to let through. Marius, joined by Consul Catulus, waited on ground of his own choosing. The Cimbri advanced, confident after so many Roman failures. But this time what faced them was not an undisciplined militia, but Marius's hardened legionaries, backed by Italian allies. On a morning heavy with tension, the two armies clashed at Vercellae. The professional Roman line held their discipline unbroken even as outnumbered. At the order, they pressed forward, riding the momentum of the ambush and striking the enemy flanks. The Cimbri broke, their king Burix was killed, their camp overrun, their people scattered or enslaved. The north was secured. The doors to Rome would remain closed to barbarians for now. A new Rome. What changed because of these victories? In the streets of Rome, there were week-long games, triumphs, and sacrifices to the gods. Marius III, founder of Rome, was hailed as the savior of the Republic, but the deeper change ran through the heart of Rome's army. The Marian reforms had turned legions from bands of privileged farmers into a force of professionals who owed their careers and sometimes their loyalty to their general as much as the Senate. This would ripple through history, for better and for worse. Yet in 101 BCE, as the dust settled at Vercellae, it was clear one general, once cast aside, had saved Rome from oblivion. The legacy, Marius's victories did more than secure Rome's borders, they bought time. Time for Rome to become an empire, for Caesar and Augustus to seize the stage. His reforms would echo for centuries, shaping every army that marched beneath the eagle standard. But there was a price. By tying soldiers to their generals, Marius set the stage for civil wars and the eventual death of the Republic. Still, in the moment of crisis, his leadership turned a crumbling republic into a renewed force. He showed that sometimes the fate of a civilization rests not just on swords and shields, but on the vision to adapt. The echoes of his decision would shape the next 500 years of Roman and world history.